Paul boys down and we'll demonstrate for the bloggers. This is kind of like having your own gang. So, I told them I thought everything was pretty much under control for now, and we could handle it.
Chocolate Chicken is such a wonderful blog. What happens on November 5th?
Well, we're going to keep it going. I must say, my goal when Tony taught me about Technorati, my goal was, which was late into the game, I have to admit, many lessons for me, but my goal was to get into the top 150, and Tony told me that it was really going to get hard after 500. Last January, early January, we were 22-24, and we had authority of 900. And like I said, last night we went up to 56, and authority is, I don't know, 37 or 3800. So that's a game. It's a game I play. When I used to write my books, every day I would write down how many words I did and what the average per day was in 75 days I've been writing this book and so on, just as a way of driving. It's like running, I'll never run a marathon, but it's like running a marathon, that you sort of think about the next 100 yards instead of the next.
Andy, where's the list?
12 miles.
One last quick question.
That's too.
I trust him when he says 56.
I got a question. Andy, you've been a journalist for so long, and now you're one of the hottest bloggers in the whole wide world. Why do you think that so few veteran journalists have taken to blogging the way that you have?
Well, it may be a personal thing. I got into journalism because I thought it was exciting, and because I wanted to learn something new every day, and I wanted to go places that other people hadn't go, and I wanted to tell stories. And as you can tell, I have a real problem telling stories. I dominated show and tell in the 6th grade, and I still would today if I was back there. So that's why I got into the business. And I had a lot of fun, especially in the early years, the first 10 or 12 years. But the newspaper business, in order to get the paper out, they have to routinize everything. And I think lazy minds caused them to routinize it and to basically suck much of the interesting material out. You can still learn tons, and I do myself from newspapers, but it's not a lot of fun. When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to see the paper in the morning because I didn't know what was going to be on the front page. And that's why I like to go online so much, because I can't wait to see what I'm going to find or what I'm going to write about each day. My day starts about noon and it finishes up about 4 or 5 in the morning. And if I wasn't falling asleep and my dog didn't need walking, I'd probably keep on going. But she and I sort of sit up and watch the sun come up many days. Today we didn't. I went to bed, but then I must admit, I did happen to wake up about 6 and look at my BlackBerry, and I saw 44,000 for the hour, and so I went back to sleep in great peace. There is a mindset, I think, unfortunately, in journalism, in newspaper, print journalism now, and it may be sort of dying off like the dinosaurs, but they want to do the predictable, because that's what they know. And when I talk with some of my colleagues that fill in for us, and the first thing I say to them is, okay, take off your newspaper girdle. Just take it off and throw it away. This is the difference between what you'd write in the newsroom and what you tell your buddies from the newsroom at the cafe and the sidewalk. How do you just tell a story in the most interesting way that you can see and slip in stuff? Fortunately, I had 8 years in politics and government, so I know how some of it works. So this morning, I got to tell you, the item I did on Larry King, the whole point of that item was the 2 paragraphs about the Bush campaign from 2000 and how they used Larry King to get the Dick Cheney story out, and how John McCain isn't, and that's why he's in trouble. It's strategic communications. It's proactive communications. And if you think about it, that's what blogging is. It's proactive communications. You're not waiting for somebody to tell you to do something. You're doing it yourself. So I think that appeals to me. frankly, I think a lot of my colleagues, it's very scary to not be told, go cover this story. To wake up in the morning and go, I don't know what I'm going to write today, and I can't wait to find out. There's a different mentality. Unfortunately, I'm old for it, so I don't have that much long left at the beginning of my career. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're definitely not a novice at this. I do have to move on to the next speaker. Go ahead.
Since we can call you Moses, that's very important. Is the word deadline even in your head anymore?
No, it's just whatever, whenever, and whatever. I'm sorry. I'll be watching a football game maybe on Saturday afternoon, and I'll just go in and look at the BlackBerry or check the wires or something, and I'll see something, and that'll make me think of something. You know, on the editorial board here, I was hired to write those feature editorials, which I did 400 or 500 of them. And the assignment from John Carroll was, I don't ever want to expect to anticipate what I'm going to read in those editorials. And so they were all different and sort of off the wall. There was a news report that there were 2 Saddam Husseins. So I just wrote about what would it be like to have to manage 2 Saddam Husseins. And you'd have to get him off the balcony and have him at the tank races, and you've got to have a third one for overtime and all of that just for fun. So it's like taking something and then having a riff with it, kind of like in jazz. And that's what I try to do with politics because they're so fascinating.
Fantastic. Please, a round of applause.
Okay, we'll turn this on. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dave Markland, who currently writes about state and local politics for KNBC's California Fault Line. He contributes to LA Met blogs, where he served as the city captain. You can explain that. From August 2006 to August 2008. And very timely, he also edits Creepy LA, which is the Los Angeles Halloween blog. So, welcome, Dave.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here. It's pretty humbling to be here in a room speaking in front of everyone from Tony Pierce to Eric Richardson and guys from everybody else from Town, LAS. It's pretty cool. So, city captain is kind of an uneditor. And it was actually, they wanted to have somebody each. They don't want to edit posts of Metroblogging. Once you have an account, once you're set up there to be a writer, it's right about the city of LA, and you're free to go from there. And so as captain, you're kind of there just to handhold a little bit for people with, making sure the posts look good, whenever possible, and answering questions and try to encourage people to write. Nobody's paid, so it's really hard to force them to write, but as much encouraging as possible with ideas or whatever. That's kind of what a city captain is. I haven't really prepared anything, but I thought I'd go through a list of the reasons why I love blogging, and especially with blogs. And since most of you bloggers, you might agree, but number one, the coolest thing, number 5, what do I have here? It's a top 5 list. Yeah, exactly, so I'll be quick. They're in no particular order, but let's pretend they are. Number 1, motivation to see doing research things. When I started blogging, the coolest part was, at first, was knowing that you had an audience, but it quickly became motivation to go out and do things. The first blog I made is called Offline Adventures of an Internet Junkie, with the intent being that it was going to get me away from the computer and go out and do things so I could write about them. And I can't say it really worked, because most of the time it would just make me stay online more and research more and write more opinion pieces or whatever, because it was cool to know that people were reading your stuff. But when I joined Metroblogging and started writing more about the city, it became a good avenue to go out and do stuff, because I knew I had a large audience. For example, probably the coolest thing that I got to do with that was I got to attend the primary debates at the Kodak with Obama and Clinton there. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been blogging for a couple of years and didn't have some credibility in order to get the press pass. I also, around that same time, I went down and I ate a $20 burger at Mayor Riordan's restaurant downtown LA, which I think is like 10 pounds. I didn't really eat the whole thing, but I think I wrote I did. So, the other cool thing is being able to share information with people. Not just your opinion. Your opinion's kind of cool, but if you